it's Rob here from the Homestead. Today is going to be part 2 of taking that cherry tree down. I just got home from work and it's not hot, it's not cold, not sunny, not rainy. It's not a lot of things, so it's a perfect day to cut wood. I'm going to, I've got the saw all sharpened up, fueled up, just letting the tractor warm up for a minute here. And today is going to be really more about the winch that I have on the tractor. It's the Forestry winch, and the different ways I use it. So as we head over to the cherry tree, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I use the winch and probably how we're not supposed to use the winch, and you know, but it's just how I use it. I've been using them for a long time. Before I got this one, my last employer, I got one there for that company, and I used that one a lot. And before that, I have a close friend that has one, and I had used that off and on through the years. So I've been using these skidder winches probably for about 20 years now, I'd say, off and on. So of course the primary reason to have one is to skid wood out of the woods, obviously. It keeps stuff up off the ground, for the most part. It'll pull wood out of an area that you typically wouldn't be able to get the tractor back into. The ways that I use it that you might not be advisable to do, but it's just what I do, is if I have a tree that's hung up, I'll hook onto it and I'll pull it down out. You know, that's probably a common use of the skidder winch. The other thing that I do is if I have a tree leaning the wrong way like I do today, I'll hook onto it high up on the tree, not way up, but as high as I can reach, or as high as I can get a choker around anyways. And I'll make my notch cut. I'll put some tension on it and I'll hold it with tension on it. Then I'll make my back cut to the point where I think it might go down, and then I will just go out and I'll go back to the tractor and I'll put as much pressure on it as it takes to make it fall. And so that's what I'm going to do today, and I'll set up the camera so you can kind of see. It's certainly not rocket science, and some people will say you probably shouldn't use it that way, but you know, it is what it is, and it's the way I use it. So I'm not telling anyone to use it this way. I'm just showing you what I do. So don't be saying Rob told me I could do it that way. Doesn't work that way. So let's see if we can get a tree on the ground. All right, so I've got the winch all hooked up. It's up on the tree, high on a chain. I'll show you that here in a second. I've got the winch is locked in, and there's this little dog right here that unlocks that and locks it in on that cog. So that's locked in. So welcome back to the cherry tree. I'm going to show you where I'm hooked up and where I'm going to make the cut, and then I'll set you up and you can watch. So there's the chain hooked around it up there. There's like 3 stems coming off this tree. You got one that's going up towards the way I'm going to cut it, one going kind of straight up, and then one going way off to the back. So I'm going to trim this dead section up here, and I'll make my notch cut right in this area. I'll make a back cut that is not deep enough to allow the tree to go, and then I will go out to the tractor at a safe distance and give it a yank and see what happens. There's also, if you look up the tree, you see the snag that's across. I don't want to be anywhere near that when this tree finally decides to go, because there's no telling in which direction that old fir tree is going to go. I mean, it's going to go and it might pop and snap back, or who knows. Nonetheless, I don't want to be near it. So let me set you guys up in sort of a safe spot. Let's see what we can break today. So that went as planned. I can show you how big that notch is. And if you look, that's a pretty big notch. You know, usually when a tree falls, it's probably half that diameter, but because I have the torque of that tractor pulling on it, it was able to pull it down. Man, that's a good cherry log at the bottom. I might have to put the metal detector to that and see if we got anything in it. Take a look. So anyways, I'm gonna get unhooked here and get cleaning everything up and move it over to the firewood pile. But you look up, there's a lot of light up there now, and that maple right there is going to do a lot better, and this maple over here is going to do a lot better. These little firs, a lot of them are just dead or dying because there's no light down here. So there we go. Another tree on the ground successfully. No one hurt, nothing broken. That's what I strive for. The skidder winch puts me at a safe distance away. Let's see if I can get a machine unhooked. So, where was I? So that skidder winch puts me a good safe distance away from what's happening up here in the woods. And a lot of the times that's where bad things usually happen. That snag that was up in the tree, it can snap off and come right down, and you can't run fast enough to get away from them. So the further away you are when that tree comes down, the better it is. And believe me, I've had a lot of close calls in the woods. I think anyone that works in the woods, you know, typically has. So especially working by myself, I have a couple of rules that I go by. One is try and get away from it. If you can get away from a tree that's going to come down by hooking onto it and pulling it over from a safe distance, go for it. One of the other rules I have about working in the woods, because I'm by myself, is I call it the one tank rule. I run 1 tank of gas through the chainsaw, and once that tank is gone, I look for other things to do. Not saying that I always go by those rules, but I do my best to. All right, so let's spool this in, and I'm going to show you the process of that. So the PTO is engaged, and remember that dog there that I showed you before? That runs that little flapper right there, and that locks. It locks the winch so it won't back out. Right now I don't need that in there. This is what engages the clutch. So that engages the clutch, and it spools it on in. And inevitably, the hook always grabs something and pulls it down to where you don't want it. pretty precious. Run over a camera with a tractor. Looks like we're still working. Pull the sod out. Well, that's a first. I ran over my camera with the tractor. Hope the footage came out to see what happened. So, I'm just gonna pick up what's left of this here, and I'll take you up and you can see what I got out of that one tree. And we're gonna call it a day. My wife probably has dinner ready for me already, and so guys, this is one cherry tree right here. We'll be bucking it up and splitting it over the next couple of weeks. It was a big old fence line cherry. If you didn't see that first video where I took the first half of it, part of it was rotten. We didn't really bring any of that over. Maybe one section that was pretty solid, but other than that, we just gonna junk it. It's a good charge of firewood. It'll probably heat the, the room that we heat with firewood for a couple of weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So what I got it out with is I've got the Makita chainsaw. It's I've talked about this saw in the past, where I use this because it's a decent saw. I've owned Steels and I owned a Husqvarna in the past, and I liked them. But the guy that sells these is right down the road from me, and he's a friend. So if I ever have a problem, either he gives me a saw to use or he fixes it immediately. So so that's why I run that particular saw. And like I said, it took a little bit of getting used to, but I kind of like it now. The winch that I use, it's a France guard. They're made in Denmark. It's a full clutch plate winch that some of the skid winches have discs. This has got it's got a full plate, so when you pull on it, it's full contact. It's not just sections. So that was the difference between this and others. There's a lot of good ones out there. Do your research before you buy it. There again, the dealer is right down the road from me, maybe 25 minutes. So so that's why I got that. And it's the 3507. It's smaller. They make much bigger ones, but it's perfect for this tractor. On the front end of the tractor, I have this this little grapple. It's a John Deere, Frontier root grapple. And I bought it for a smaller tractor at the time, but it fit on this one and it does great. I have the remote up in the front that runs this. I also have a snowplow, and it runs the snowplow blade, so it works out great. We put that on, my stepson and I put that on together, and it took a little bit of figuring out, but it connects in back here in the back of the tractor, and it runs off the thumb switch. Let me open this up and I'll bring you around. So so the grapple or the snowplow runs right off of this thumb switch. On my old tractor, I had a little toggle switch that I'd throw, and then I'd operate it by doing the dump operation once that little toggle was thrown. But with this one, I can do everything all at once and still run. I can still run the grapple and the plow, which is really nice. I enjoy it. So that's gonna wrap things up. Midge has got dinner ready, and I'm gonna go in and have a dinner and probably a cocktail of some sort. So like, subscribe, and have a great day.